Good afternoon, y'all. Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of the JD's Packers podcast. Your host, Joseph Dino. Today, I will be ranking all 16 NFC quarterbacks from 16 to 1. I know this list is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but that's a part of making NFL and sports content as a whole. You're going to have people who disagree with you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave in the comments if you agree, disagree, what you disagree with, if you do disagree with me. Make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So, number 16, I have Jacoby Brissett from the Arizona Cardinals, probably the no one shocker. He is not the long-term solution with this team. The Arizona Cardinals are in tank mode. They are in Arch Manning territory. This team is going to suck. Their ceiling is very low. And people predicting them to have 1 to 3 wins. I think they'll probably have around 3 to 4 wins, and they'll be ranked bottom of the NFL. Next, at number 15, I have whoever wins the QB battle between Tua and Michael Penix. I don't think it really changes much if one of the two wins. I think either way, they're going to be ranked 15 on my list. Tua with a fresh scenery change. We'll see what he can do. The Falcons have some exciting weapons, such as, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Who else am I missing? Oh, Drake London. How could I forget? That's a very solid wide receiving, tight end core, running back duo for those two. But at the end of the day, compared to the rest of the NFC, they don't move me in the slightest. But who knows, maybe they'll move up a little bit in the rankings as the season goes on. Number 14, I have Jackson Dart from the New York Giants. This part of the list between 14 and 11 for me is really hard. And you honestly could rank him all the way up to 11 if you want to. This is just up to personal preference. To me, I think Jackson Dart will be there at some point. I think he will elevate his game. He's a young player. I just need to see more. We'll see what he does under John Harbaugh. We'll see what happens with the Malik Neighbors injury, how he recovers from his Achilles tear. I think it was an Achilles tear. Achilles or ACL tear. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. One of those two. I know it's a serious injury, and I know he's been struggling with rehab this offseason, so hopefully he'll be on the field sooner rather than later. But Jackson Dart has a pretty high ceiling, but I just need to see more from him. He's a young player. Like I said, 14-11. It's all down to personal preference. Number 13, I got Tyler Show from the New Orleans Saints. I'm a bit higher on him than Jackson Dart. I think he showed a lot of great flashes at the end of last season. I think with that receiver room with Chris Olave and them, they will be much improved going into this season with Kellen Moore as their play caller and head coach. I think this team will shock a lot of people. I think the Saints can be teetering towards the 7, 8, 9 win range and potentially win that division. And I think the reason for that will be Tyler Show. We'll see how he performs this season. He could very well be let down, and then he'll end up being towards the bottom of this list, and I'll look stupid, but I'm pretty high on him, so I'm going to have him around 13. I think he has the potential to climb this list. Number 12, I have Kyler Murray. I'm assuming he's going to win that QB job for the Vikings. And if he doesn't, something very bad happened in training camp, whether he got injured or he just sucked more than J.J. McCarthy. And if that's the case, they are my 16th or 15th ranked quarterbacks in this conference because J.J. McCarthy sucks. I assume Kyler Murray will be better than that. When we've seen Kyler Murray play his best football, he is higher on this list. He has had some pretty good seasons, but those are pretty far away at this point. I need to see how he does in this Kevin O'Connell system, but when you have a receiver room consisting of Justin Jefferson, Juan Jennings, and Jordan Addison, that's a really stacked room. And not to mention, they also had TJ Hawkinson. So I think Kyler Murray has the potential to save his career just like Sam Darnold did under Kevin O'Connell, but I need to see it. I'm not as high on him as some people are. I've seen some people put him in their top 10 NFC quarterbacks list. I need to see him do it, but I could see him potentially reaching that height if everything goes the way it's supposed to. Number 11, and this is probably going to be I jumped the gun. Number 11 is Bryce Young. Number 10 is where my controversial opinions start to come in. And Bryce Young could be controversial being at 11. He did have his best season yet last year, but I think we all agree we need to see a little bit more. We'll see how that Ted McMillan connection develops over time. We'll see how that Dave Canales offense develops over time with Bryce Young. I think the Panthers will be better this year. We'll see if they have as much wins, as their schedule will be harder this year. They have a first place schedule. However, I think this team, talent wise, is better, and they're one of those teams where I don't think you want to see them on a week to week basis. I mean, they were pretty wildly inconsistent last year, but I think they loaded up on the defensive end, and I also think that Bryce Young will take another step. We'll see how big that step is, but I have him at a number 11. This is where the controversy begins, folks. Number 10, I have Brock Purdy. Maybe it's not as controversial as I think. I know a lot of people probably have Brock Purdy near that 7-6 range, 5 range around there. I've never gotten the hype of him. I think Brock Purdy is a fine quarterback. I think he can get the job done in the right system, but he's not going to be a guy who's going to elevate your team. He's not going to be a guy who elevates you to the next level. I think under a Kyle Shanahan offense, he's fine. He does what they need him to do. But just like we saw Mac Jones did last year when he was hurt, he doesn't take a magician to figure out a Kyle Shanahan offense. You just have to be fine and you have to be willing to play your part. And Brock Purdy does a good job of doing that. There are times where he can step out and be that quote unquote Superman for the Niners, where he's made some terrific plays with his feet out of the pocket and some pretty spectacular throws, but he's nothing special in my opinion. And I was debating between him and his number 9 spot for the 9 spot, but I ended up putting Jaden Daniels at 9 solely because of how good he looked his rookie season. Last year, obviously, was disappointing with the injuries, him not being able to stay on the field. And I can't have him higher than 9 just because we haven't seen enough from him. And the injuries do concern me quite a bit with the way he plays football, the running style. However, I just think his talent and his ceiling is so much higher than Brock Purdy's. Thus, I feel more comfortable putting him at number 9. Number 8, I have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is going into a contract season, was not able to get the extension he wanted from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think pissed off Baker Mayfield is the best version of Baker Mayfield. I think he has the ability to climb this list as the year goes on. I had to stop myself, though, just because he had a little bit of a down year, so we'll see if he's on the decline or not. But with chip on his shoulder, trying to get the contract he thinks he deserves, whether it's with the Bucs or with another team, I think Baker's going to come out and have a pretty solid season. Number 7, I have Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is playing for his job this year with the Eagles. You may think that's crazy as he just won the Super Bowl with them in 2024. But the leash with a team like Philadelphia and with Howie Roseman as your GM, as he's shown time and time again, is low. You lose the fan base, you start to lose, you start not to have that Eagles expectations, they will cut you. They will move on from you. They will cut their losses and move on. And I think Jalen Hurts is getting to that point with him and Nick Sirianni. I think this is a year he needs to prove it. I almost had him lower on this list, but I think 7 is more out of respect for what he's done in the postseason in the past and what his resume is in the Super Bowl. But Jalen Hurts has been shaky the last couple of seasons, and I think you can make an argument that Baker and Jaden Daniels are better than him. But I just went with Jalen Hurts. I think he's a tad bit better than both of them at his absolute best, and I just decided to go with that. However, he has not been his absolute best, and if he can't be his absolute best moving forward, I think he will fall on this list, and those two will rise. But right now, I have Jalen Hurts at 7. I do think he's going to have a pretty solid season under Sean Mannion as their new offensive coordinator. I've heard some good things coming out from Eagles beat reporters about him and how the players feel about him. So I think Jalen Hurts will have a solid season, and he's number 7 on my list. Number 6, I have Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is a very underrated quarterback at this point. I saw a list. I forgot what list it was. I think it was either NFL executives or some high executives or something in the league listed him as like the 16th or 17th best quarterback in the league. I can't get there. I think it was PFF. Excuse me. Thank you. I got the right. I'm thanking myself for remembering. Sorry, but it was PFF had him ranked 16th, I think, on their top 32 quarterbacks list. And even though I think Jared Goff isn't spectacular, I think he's a very solid quarterback, and his ceiling is not that high compared to the rest of the people on this list. There's no doubt the man is his floor is extremely high compared to everyone else on this list. His lows are a lot lower, or not as low as some people on this list, and I think he's becoming underrated. He can run a very good offense under the right scheme. He's been very solid with the Lions over the last 3 to 4 seasons. As a Packers fan, when Jared Goff is locked in and when he's in a rhythm, he is scary because he can pick apart your offense if he's not making any mistakes, if he's in a rhythm, if he's following the flow of the game. I think Jared Goff has become a little bit underrated. He won't single-handedly win you a playoff game, and I don't think he's a quarterback you would want to take you to a Super Bowl or on a Super Bowl run, but he's done it before. The respect has to be there. Jared Goff is 6 on my list. So here's where we get into our top 5, and I think I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but it's okay. This is what about making NFL content comes with. So number 5, I have Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold coming off Super Bowl win, people may have him a little higher just because the Seahawks just won. But if we're being real, the Seahawks winning that Super Bowl, I believe a lot of that was on the defense. The defense was absolutely spectacular against the Patriots, and all Sam Darnold had to do was not mess up in that game for them to win. However, we cannot deny he had a very good NFC Championship game when the offense needed him the most. He lifted them to that win. So I think the respect has to be there for Sam Darnold. He's 5th on my list. I think he's a very good game manager. But when it comes to these next 4 guys, I think that they elevate their teams a lot higher and do a lot more with less. Number 4, I have Caleb Williams. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a Packers fan. I don't like Caleb Williams. I don't like the Bears. I cannot deny, though, Caleb Williams is a good player. He's a good quarterback. He balled last year in the times the Bears needed him. He elevated his game in the games the Bears needed him the most. My biggest gripe with Caleb Williams and why I am slower to anoint him as the best quarterback in the NFC North than others is the fact that his completion percentage needs to improve, and he has yet to show me he can be a routine passing guy. What do I mean by routine passing guy? Follow the script. Don't try to do too much, because I think the biggest thing with Caleb Williams is, yes, he can do so much with a play that's so broken and make these spectacular highlight reel plays that everyone's like, oh my God, he's the best quarterback in the league. Oh, he's playing like the best quarterback in the league. Who can do that but him and maybe a few other guys? However, can he just complete a simple routine drive? Can he sit in the pocket and deliver passes on time? Can he get his completion percentage up? Because his completion percentage was under 60% last year. I think people forget that. He had some really high highs and some very low lows, and I think that with Caleb Williams is where we're at right now. I think Caleb Williams can climb this list. I believe his potential is very high. I believe he can be one in the future. I have to see more. And that may be me being a hater, but so be it. I think the numbers don't lie. I think when you watch Caleb Williams play, I think there's a lot of impressiveness when you see it, but I think there needs to be a little bit more routine, a little bit more control over the offense rather than this radical play that can lead to some very high highs, like I said, and some very low lows. Number 3, I have Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is one of those guys who has become a little underrated as well, flying under the radar. Very solid quarterback. Him and CeeDee Lamb have an excellent connection. Him and George Pickens have an excellent connection. And just like I mentioned with Jared Goff, when Dak Prescott is on a roll, when he hits that click, he's a scary quarterback. When he's in his rhythm, I mean, you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks, but for what I've seen, when Dak Prescott is in a mode, it's different. And he has potential when he's in a mode to be arguably the best quarterback in the NFC, but he's just not consistent enough with it for you to make that argument. Dak, I think, is underrated. I think he's starting to fall off a little bit, but right now he's number 3 in my list, and I think he will stay around the top 5, top 3 throughout the season. This is where the controversy begins. I don't really care because this man is underrated as all hell. Jordan Love is my number 2 in the NFC. I don't care what any of y'all say. Stats don't lie. The eye test does not lie. Tape does not lie. Jordan Love is an elite quarterback. And people will be like, why hasn't he taken the Packers farther? it is not his fault. 320 yards, 4 touchdowns against Chicago Bears, doing everything you can possibly do with a disintegrating offensive line and wide receivers dropping passes in the biggest part of the games, and yet you're sitting there delivering dime after dime after dime, and yet you get blamed. Pretty much everything that could have went wrong around him went wrong, and you're going to blame him for that loss? Yes, the Eagles game in 2025, that wildcard game, was not his best performance whatsoever. I'm not going to take the blame off of him for that bad performance. But his playoff performances have been blown over proportion when people say he's not been a good playoff performer. You watch the Packers play as much as I do, and I watch every single game. I watch the tape. I'm a diehard fan. I tell you right now, he is the least of our problems. He is an elite quarterback. His timing is impeccable. His ball placement is impeccable. His footwork is getting a lot better. His fadeaway throws could be a little less. I feel like sometimes he overdoes those, but those plays are impressive as all hell. Jordan Love is incredibly underrated, and he elevates his offense more than y'all know. And I think that this year, he will continue to take a step forward. He really does not have a true number one when you look at these other guys. Dak Prescott has CeeDee Lamb. Matthew, not to spoil anything, but Matthew Stafford is my number one guy, and I think that's deserved. But he has Puka Nacua. Sam Darnold has JSN. Jared Goff has Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jordan Love, Christian Watson's a very good player. I think he's a little underrated, but he can never stay healthy. Jordan Love has never had that 1A type of dude, and yet he's still putting this great production up. He's underrated, and right now he's my number 2 best NFC quarterback. And number 1, like I just said, and not no shocker to anyone, is reigning MVP Matthew Stafford. The guy just won MVP. The Rams are the Super Bowl favorites for a reason, among many other things, but he's one of the main reasons. Elite quarterback, elite IQ, elite ball placement, elite arm for his age. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in the NFC until further notice. That could change this season with age, and who knows what can happen. The younger players like Caleb could take a step. Jordan Love could take that step, another step. Who knows? Jaden Daniels could take maybe a bigger step if he can stay healthy. But right now, I have Matthew Stafford as my best quarterback in the NFC. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Subscribe for more NFL content, and I'll see y'all another time.